Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're looking into what is a hidden and probably unacknowledged, even potentially by you, power that you have. And it's kind of a shadow reading, but in a very specific way, because it's not really looking at shadow that you need to sort of work through, acknowledge and hopefully release. It's more understanding a power which could be intimidating, which could, if it was overdone, become an issue for you or for somebody else, or that you may be a little bit scared by or a little bit overwhelmed by that you have, that nevertheless could be used for your highest good and for that of others. So understanding that power and using it in the right way requires us, first of all, to acknowledge it and see it. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at what that energy is for you and how you can best use it, how other people experience it, why you kept it a little bit hidden, and what you could learn from that and that kind of thing. And then how that kind of plays out for fortune and energy around you more generally. So we'll focus in on one particular one, which this card here from the Deep, Dark and Dangerous Oracle is a good entry point for. There's some astrology information under this that will also help us work out what this really is. And then with tarot, and then as I say, we'll see how that plays out. So the idea is to reclaim something that could be misunderstood, that could be seen to be a little bit of a risky thing, but nevertheless, as I say, at another stage could in fact be incredibly good and used for incredible good. So that's the idea. Let's look at your shadow, but from a different perspective, and let's look at your power, but from a different perspective. So you can, of course, go to more than one reading. There might be more than one power, or they might combine in some way. So you do you, choose however you would normally do. But I did, as I say, ask the Deep, Dark and Dangerous Oracle to give me the entry point and some aspect of what this power would be to help you choose. So for pile number 1, we have Vampire, talking about hunger, the number 28, if numbers draw you. For pile number 2, we have Change with Werewolf, number 29. And for pile number 3, we have Nyx, which is darkness. Nyx is the goddess of the night, with number 19. So any number of things could draw you, I guess. Go to whatever reading or readings you want. Timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile number 1. So you came to Vampire, and as I said, this represents hunger. If we're looking at vampire as a strength, I highly doubt this is actually saying that anybody who's come to this is an actual vampire in terms of either sort of literally or sort of spiritually or emotionally. But I think it is talking about a couple of things that operate for you. One is a hunger for your own hunger, the hunger that can drive you, the hunger that can motivate you to go towards something that you want and how you would go about getting it. And I think it's also the hunger that you might inspire in others. I think this is a card. The vampire is such an interesting creature in sort of literature and mythology, because it is both a scary sort of idea, the concept particularly of the sort of blood drinking side of it, but it's also a very seductive idea. There's a lot of glamour around the vampire. So I think that for you there is a kind of a power that is very intriguing, that is very intense, that is very scorpionic. Now the interesting thing is we don't have Scorpio in the energy of the astrology here, but we do have Pluto twice, which is a very scorpionic energy. So I feel like you have a lot of like intriguing power. You draw a lot of hunger from others, and you may also be driven by the hunger for certain things. And I think the derivation of it comes here, the object is here, and the methodology is here in how this power operates. So the derivation is the first of the Pluto elements here, and this is saying Pluto in the 4th house, developing emotional resilience. For many of you, this energy, both the hunger that burns and wants to sort of find stability, material possessions, the relationships and so forth that you might want, which sort of shows up a bit there with Sun in the 2nd house in Taurus, is created right from childhood, I would say, with Cancer from the family basis. You have a real emotional resilience in the way that a vampire would need to have it, and seen in the sense that a vampire is a creature of the night, has certain limitations about when and how it can interact, is normally sired in one form or another. So there's a whole range of issues around that kind of vampiric energy, which was probably developed when you were very young. And there is a sense of wanting safety, a sense of wanting emotional balance, all of those sort of things, dealing with the hunger, knowing how to feed the hunger, knowing how to satiate the hunger, that kind of energy. Plus, you're likely to draw others to you that are seeking that, particularly others who may be going through major transformations or who have had similar sort of family situations, I feel like. I think for many of you that you came from an interesting family background with Pluto in the 4th house there. We've got the sun in the 2nd house, and as I said, in Taurus, this is about ownership. There is something about owning your security, owning your job, owning your home, owning your possessions, owning the life that you want. Sun in Taurus is going towards the good life to the degree that one can achieve it. So there is a real sense there of wanting to have things that are yours. So I think part of the hunger is about that. Some of you may have come from a home life where it was very hard to have something that was yours. Maybe there was a lot of siblings and there was a lot of sharing. Maybe there was financial issues. Maybe there was a lot of turmoil and turbulence in your upbringing, and as such, you've sought to be able to create that very material world and to satiate that hunger. So there's something in the changeability and transformation in the early part of your life that created this drive and hunger towards stability and material possessions, and there's nothing wrong with that. It actually becomes a power. It's a thing that actually drives you. It's part of your life path. You're actually meant to be able to create this. And the vampire energy within you is driving you towards satiating that hunger rather than necessarily taking it from others. It's actually really good that we've got the sun in Taurus there, because with ownership, with that sense of your own stability, this is telling us one of the ways that you use this energy is to use it to create your own world as opposed to necessarily feeding off others. So that's very powerful. And then we have Pluto again. So we've got Pluto in the formative years, and then we have Pluto in your skills around the 3rd house with Gemini. So I think, I communicate, functioning logically. You don't overdo things, and you aren't driven by a hunger that is too emotionally over the top or anything like that. It's very logical, it's very practical, and you communicate well with other people. So I feel that also your communication skills and your transformative communication may draw people to you. I think you do draw people who are also hungry for achieving what you've achieved. I think you may be quite aspirational, or people may see you and the way you think as the way that they want to think. The challenge that you would have with this is people wanting to be mini-me's, maybe, I think. So people, like in the sort of vampire law, wanting to become the vampire too and that kind of thing. They can't do the same thing that you've done because there's a very specific pathway that you've got. This is why you've got this inner power. There's something very transformative within your soul right from your childhood. You know that you want to create this stability and ownership and freedom, and you have the sort of logical and communication skills way of doing it to satiate that hunger. So that's how you use this energy really well. And that's how and the ultimate outcome for you. But it also draws other people because this is you have a very compelling story. So let's see what this plays out like with tarot. Let's first of all look at a little bit more about the power and what is positive about it. So this vampiric, it's a hunger. I think vampiric is probably there's too many associations there where you feed off others, and I don't get a sense here of you feeding off others at all. I get a sense of you actually going into your own personal underworld, feeding off yourself and then creating stability out of it, but you have this hunger that's driving you. So I think that's the power. You have the ambition, the hunger, the drive. A lot of people don't have that and therefore won't achieve what you might achieve. So let's learn a little bit more about the power and its positives. Let's see how other people experience this in relation to you. And let's see why you might have kept this a bit unacknowledged or hidden. So firstly, a bit more about the power and its positives. We have the Queen of Coins, the Moon reversed, the Hanged Man reversed, the Two of Cups reversed, the Seven of Wands reversed. Okay, so There is definitely a material outcome here. I think, particularly when I see 2 of Cups reversed, 7 of Wands reversed, I think that many of you, because we had the Pluto in the 4th house, I think many of you have come from fairly turbulent backgrounds, whether it was that your parents broke up, whether there just was a lot of change, it was hard to know who you were, it was hard to differentiate. Like I did have a sense for some of you, like sibling rivalry, that sort of thing. So some of the power comes from feeling a lack and getting a stability that you had to transform yourself to have. It's not something you could do through someone else, and it did take bravery. So, and in fact, it now requires to some degree bravery with other people, because it's like the energy that you have has its own complications personally. So it'll be interesting to see what we get when it looks at how other people experience this. But this hunger is material. You're not hiding it. So the vampire energy sometimes hides, but you're not hiding it. And in fact, it's saying this is out in the daylight. It's not the moon. It's not. You're not hidden in the night in the way that a vampire is. It's material. It's in the daylight. That's where the power is done, and you have a very different perspective on things as a result of the formation of this, as a result of the hunger. But underneath everything, and why this is important that you do need to acknowledge it, as I say, is that I do feel there's a hunger for ownership, self-sufficiency, security, all of those sort of things, and really bringing that out and using the different way that you do things to get there. But there is also a hunger for a connection with others, but that worries you. Because as I say, there's something about having to get the emotional resilience when you're very young that has made you a little bit concerned about that. And this may be a little bit of a preempting as to why you need to bring this out now, because this same hunger then when it's turned towards a relationship could let you know that you've got everything in your kit bag to do that as well too. But there's something, and I suspect for many of you it may be, as I say, turbulent things in your childhood or around family or even around friends or something like that, where things have been difficult and you've tended to shy away from that. You've focused on the material, but there is also the emotional. Remember that the vampire is a very, very sensual energy, so it's like not to hide that away. So its positives could be moved into that direction as well. So how do others see and experience this hunger, this power that you have, this transformative hunger, ambition, all of those things that does actually bring you material success? How are others experiencing it? 6 of Pentacles reversed, Queen of Wands, the Magician reversed, the Ace of Cups reversed. Okay, all right, yeah. This kind of fits with this. What is happening with this is the same. Materially, you are finding your equals. You are being seen as an equal. You're hungry. You will be around other ambitious people, other people who do well materially. You're drawn to that. People recognize you like that. They think you're very talented. They think you're very charismatic. But as I say, it's like there's the underlying hunger and the sensuality and the intrigue and the fascination and almost the hypnotic energy. You have all of these things with that Plutonian stuff of the vampire, but for the most part, they see you as charismatic and very materially successful. Some of them wonder if there's some kind of almost trickery. Like some of them feel this energy under there and they don't always trust you. So that's a possibility. And it may particularly impact around love, because if you're suppressing this energy, what I'm feeling is that you're suppressing and hiding and unacknowledging this power and hunger when it comes to personal relationships. You're not doing it around what you want to achieve in the world. You're using it and it's out in the daylight and it's not hidden and it's just seen as ambition and charisma. But when it's around other people where love could be involved, it's having an impact. So it's worth being aware of that. Because you could do the same thing with this, but you just have to have the courage to do that. So the unacknowledged bit, I think, is how this energy could work for you in terms of relationships. And it may be for some of you that it's already been a problem in a way around relationships, because I often say, I think you come across as charismatic. I often say that charismatic people have some of the weirdest relationships. People will be drawn to them and want to be like them and all sorts of things. But this is saying that what's happening is in the personal level, people are feeling like, what's actually really going on? Can I trust this person? Whereas on the professional level, it works really, really well. So, why why therefore have you hidden this, and like, why is spirit wanting you to see this now and think about, I think, utilizing it across all your life, not just part of your life. 5 of coins, because you're feeling alone. I think you're doing fine materially, or if you haven't yet done materially, you do have to unleash the hunger there, because it'll prove the purpose, and then you can do it around relationships. 6 of Swords, it gives you a sort of sense that it's okay. I think there's a bit of guilt around this, and all the sort of Plutonian energy is quite heavy to deal with. And the Fool, there's sort of a new opportunity coming up. I think it's in terms of relationship for most of you. For some of you, it might be that you really just have to step into this power first materially, and then you can do it relationship-wise. But I think most of you have probably already started to manifest this materially. But you're alone. You're feeling alone. And there's like a new journey, and you could actually have someone with you, because there could be someone who responds to that kind of hungry, passionate energy and see it as something wonderful, not something that is sort of like hidden away and not to be trusted. Because it's not like the people who are dealing with you around your material stuff are not seeing you as untrustworthy. They're not seeing the hunger as a problem. They see it as equal. Ambitious people tend to recognize other ambitious people, and that's fine. So I think this is about extending this power, because you have a very transformative, creative, ambitious power that can really manifest and is very seductive and very charismatic, but it's using it personally more, I think. So if you do that, let's have a look at what kind of energy could occur in fortune energy. So we're going to get a couple of cards from Madame Vendora for the fortune energy around this at the moment, when it's at least partially hidden, and then what it would be like if you brought it out more generally, because I think for you it's only partially hidden. So in this partially hidden energy, what is the fortune that's created by that at the moment? The Chimera, imagination clouds your judgment. Yeah, you kind of like, at the moment, you're not really being fully honest with what this is, and it makes it hard to be clear on what you do. You might also think, is it really real? And, like, I can manifest materially, but could I really manifest love as well too? You're worried about whether it's actually true. And the Hourglass, time is of the essence. So while you keep it hidden, you're missing out on opportunities. And it's almost as though, I think you're very quick at making things happen with your material stuff, and maybe not as quick around it emotionally. And this is why you need to sort of think about using this power. So then what happens to the fortune energy if you start to use it more broadly? The Talisman, you are destined to succeed. What you have done materially over here, you'll be able to do, I think, in your emotional life. I think this is what it's talking about. And, okay, Raven, the darkness looms on the horizon. So you do need to look at, there is a little bit more complexity with this in this space of your sort of personal relationships, and that kind of makes sense. So you need to think about how you use this in a way that is hungry and passionate, but not dominating. So I think that might be the charisma energy and how it operates. But you are destined to succeed. You just have to face that particular thing. I also think with the Raven there, you're going to get some support and energy, from the other side, so to speak, with the Raven energy to help you around that. Now, I'm just going to get just a few tokens from the Telltale tokens for each again, just to see what else we get. So while this remains a little bit hidden, and then when and if you bring it out more. Okay. So we have a seashell. I feel like that is kind of like the delicacy. There's a kind of a delicacy about this, and also the emotion maybe being a bit closed up. We have no. You're going no. You don't want to do it. Keeping everything protected and closed up, but it's a ticking time bomb. Time is of the essence. It's too powerful to do that. And then we have the witches, a witch on a broomstick. It's like you can't really keep this Plutonian energy down forever. You can't keep the hunger down forever, but you are kind of keeping it tightly clamped up, so to speak, at the moment. Whereas if you let it out, we have what looks like a kind of a leaf, like a freedom energy. There's communication with a telephone. There's a lamp that shows the light in the darkness is there. We have a dog, so we have the sense of loyal people around you. And then we have a fan. This is moving everything. moving, the feather in the wind, like getting the communication going, following the light. I feel like this is saying this frees the energy up and frees communication up much better, and you will find your way through and you'll find the right people. This is a kind of a false safety. You have it for a while, but eventually you're going to have to get moving. So I think it is saying you need to use this power. You need to use it personally as well as in the energy of the professional or the material as you are. So let's just see what karmic energy is around this. Just to get a couple of cards around the power that you have and the karmic energy for you. We have ethical conduct. So I think this is part of it for you. You don't want, I actually think you've got that quite well done. I think around your material thing, you've been able to do the hunger but do it in a really ethical way. And it's part of the reason why you're successful. And that is also karmically what you need to do. If you have this degree of kind of ambition and hunger and drive and charisma, you do need to use it ethically. Otherwise, karmically, it's going to be a real mess. But I think you've got that under control, really. I think the issue is more around how does that translate into the personal. It's probably one of the reasons why you're keeping it a little bit hidden when it comes to it personally. And divine grace. You will be protected, though. You don't, like this, as long as you remain ethical, you're protected. That's what it's really saying. As long as you remain ethical, you will be protected by the divine. If you tried to use this, if you tried to use the sort of sensuality and the kind of intensity of this to manipulate, you wouldn't be protected. And then you would have some issues karmically. But as long as you apply the same ethics, you can use this power because it's just a hunger and it will draw in. You shouldn't be alone just because you're worried that you would overwhelm someone. You'll bring in, just like you've brought in equals in the material world, you'll bring in an equal intensity with somebody in love as well. Okay, so let's just get some other, either astrology or other sort of spiritual guidance for you in using this power. Cycle. Okay, so things happen in a cycle. And I think it's actually saying, depending upon where you are, you may need to go through the full cycle of following your hunger and manifesting, particularly that sun in Taurus, the material world that you want, to prove that you can do it and prove that you can do it ethically. But then the cycle starts up again and you can maybe look at it personally. January moon. It's very fitting because that is the looking inwards to see what is hidden. That's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So this is just saying that is the important thing. I think it's actually telling you a time frame. I think it's saying once you've gone through this cycle and created the sort of stability that you want materially, that's the time to go within and understand the power that you used. It's sort of, that's where you get the new beginning. And then lastly, October moon. So that's really about communication with spirit, realigning and finding purpose. So that's the divine grace. So this is showing you how to do it and the timing to do it. It's saying that like you naturally do it, you naturally use this power. It's not really that hidden materially. Once you've proven that and you've seen it and you know that you've karmically been able to sort of keep this ethical, then you can go within and decide what is it that you want to have and connect to that divine grace to bring in the right person. Because I think one of the things that's really important here is that you have an equal of intensity personally and hunger as you do materially. I've actually seen very ambitious people, married to or connected to people that aren't that ambitious, and it doesn't really work that well. I think you're a very intense person. You have a deep sort of drive, really transformative, able to deal with your shadow. You need to find someone like that. That's why you need to really understand it, go within and see what you want in that form and call out to the divine to help you. So just to finish off, we're just going to draw a card from the Divine Circus, because if this is you basically understanding this power of hunger, drive, ambition, intensity, sensuality, charisma, there's a whole range of things that one associates with vampiric energy. And being able to feed off the world and others in a way that is ethical as well, as opposed to overwhelming. What is a kind of overarching energy when you've brought this hidden power to the surface? What does that bring in as an overarching energy to close out the reading, part one? Divine disguise. Okay, now that's interesting because that will show that the part of this is about finding your equals, but like with other people, you probably do need to disguise some of this. Like it's like if this hidden power was shown too much to the world, materially you might be seen to be relentless and difficult. In relationships, you might be seen to be obsessive. So you do need a certain disguise around this, because you're meant to find your equals who will understand you. And then it will work at its best and its highest good. But for the rest of the time, that degree of hunger is probably a little bit good to be aware of, to let it drive you, but not show it too much. And I think because it's saying divine disguise, the grace of the divine will help you with that. But you've just got to really know this within yourself. You've got to acknowledge it, because as I said, at its worst, you could be seen to be very manipulative, very sort of aggressive, very obsessive, all of those sort of things. So understanding that there's a lot of power with you, with that double Pluto, with the sun, that's pretty strong. And so there's an energy there of understanding that you've got to find the right people, the right level of people to be able to be fully who you are. But otherwise, you can be glamorous, because you are glamorous, and do it that way. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with werewolf, and a werewolf, of course, is a shapeshifter, a change agent. The interesting thing about the werewolf, of course, is that it seems to be driven by the moon and the cycles of the moon. So there could be something here in terms of a hidden power that is very much connected to the moon. So bear that in mind. But it is normally depicted as a rather horrific change process that moves from the civilized into the wild and then back again. So I think there's something here in terms of a power you have to get to your wild, pure nature, and also the more civilized version of yourself, and to be able to shapeshift between the two. But there may be a little bit of fear, and why we've got the hidden aspect about the wilder nature in terms of how that may impact on others, in particular on others, I think, given the astrology that we're looking at here. Because what I'm looking at we've got 2 times Jupiter here, so there is a real wish for expansion, growth, good luck, good fortune. But there is the possibility of going too far. Like Jupiter can be very benefic, but it can go too far and it can expand too much. And we have Aries rising, so a lot of ambition, a lot of dynamism, a lot of energy. That wild energy, when focused, can take you towards true greatness, really achieving things and so forth, particularly with Jupiter when it's operating well. But too much ambition, too much drive, too much of everything can become too wild and very uncontrollable and cause damage. So this is the balance for you. Jupiter overall, Jupiter twice is good, because I think it is saying that you're kind and you wish things to be good and growthful and benefic as a whole. But the interesting thing is that one part of you, and I think this is the real highest good area, the kind of the touchstone energy for you, is Jupiter in the 4th house in Cancer, so sweet home. There is a sense here of wanting to provide for family, for friends, for those that you care for, and having a good environment that is safe, and that the beneficence of what you do and achieve with your capacity to move between the wild and the sort of untamed and the driven to the more civilized and the more structured and cultivated is probably anchored in your closest relationships. But you do want to be prosperous and you do want to be dynamic. So part of this is there is a lot of ambition here, and it's very, very powerful if you use it. But you need the anchor, I think, of how this impacts on those that you care about the most. And that's, I think, the dynamic. And it's part of why this is a real power. If you have that balanced right, then there's something so dynamic and so wild and so powerful and energetic in you that you can go very, very far and provide very, very well for anybody that you care about. But as I say, if you became too much of a workaholic, if you became too ruthless, it might disturb the capacity. You could create a dynasty and then have all your children feeling disaffected and so forth, like you see in some of those sort of things on television series about powerful families and so forth. So it just depends on how this plays out. But you have a lot of power and energy to be able to shift between the wild and the dynamic and the civilized and the structured. And as I say, there is that kind of anchoring. So what we're going to look at with tarot is we're first of all going to look at a bit more about this power and what is positive about it. Then we're going to have a look at how other people experience this in you, even if it's sort of hidden. And then we're going to have a look at why it was hidden and whether it should, how it should be brought out or to what degree it should be brought out for others to see. Because it may be that it's only important for you to be aware of it. So firstly, a little bit more about this power and where it is positive for you. 3 of Coins reversed. King of Wands reversed. Justice. Page of Wands. 9 of Wands. Oh, yeah, you're very fiery energy. Very ambitious. The Aries energy is very, very strong. And people do see that, because that was Aries rising, so people would see it. Where it's working best for you is you're very aware with the King of Wands reversed here that if it gets out of control, it becomes like egomaniacal, it becomes too controlling, it becomes power-oriented. You're very balanced, actually. You understand that. The more civilized side, if you almost looked at all the sort of like Wands energy as being the wild side, Justice here is very balanced and it's the sort of civilized side. And that works really well when you keep that at the center of things, and that's the center of things. That was where the Jupiter and the 4th house also fit. It's like the civilized society, civilized relationships, all of that. And those that you are potentially connected to, through law, like, partners that you marry, and your children and that kind of thing. So there's definitely a sense of it works at its best when there is a balance with that, when you know what you want to do with it, and when you're using it to be indefatigable. Like when you really need to push through and do more, when you know what the vision is, and it's about pushing yourself and driving yourself rather than driving others. But one of the things about this is that it's not a team sport. It's not like there's a bunch of werewolves and you're all turning on the moon. You're the person with the drive here. You're meant to be the leader. You're meant to be out there. You're far more driven than the average person. And it's not a team sport. But you can keep it in balance. You can use this energy just as energy to keep you going, as long as you're always aware of not becoming the despot with it, basically, because you have a lot of power, a lot of energy. You could do that. So what do other people experience? If you're kind of keeping the inner werewolf hidden to some degree, but they're seeing that drive, I think, because Aries rising, a lot of this is seen as drive. What do they experience as with you? The Fool, somebody who's prepared to sort of start new things, go in new directions. 9 of Cups reversed, not particularly sentimental or wish-oriented. The leader, there's Aries again. 7 of Cups reversed. Yeah, you're not seen as sentimental at all. Now, that could be an issue for you around your closest relationships, but if you keep those in balance, that's fine. I think actually that most people too think that you are dedicated to a cause or a direction or something like that, rather than just about your own pleasure. Like, I think most people, in fact, if anything, most people probably see you as a workaholic and someone who is really dedicated to something. So that kind of wild energy is seen, processed in that way into sort of achievement, into the new cause, but very unsentimental. Like, I do think it's very important for you around the closest relationships to build the heart energy, because if that went into that space, it's harder to, you don't want that energy in there. You want the 9 of Cups upright. You want the 7 of Cups upright for that. But yeah, you're experienced as a groundbreaker, ambitious, powerful, a leader, and completely unsentimental. So, and that's okay in the material world, but you do need to think about it personally. So why has it been hidden, or what do you need to sort of balance or be aware of? Which could be why you've kept some of this hidden. Queen of Coins reversed. The Moon. The 6 of Coins. Okay. For some of you, you're on the leadership path and you're not there yet. So what you're keeping some of this hidden because at some point you're going to have to shift your loyalty from working for someone to being the leader. but you're keeping that hidden at the moment. For some, this is very much about where you're up to around your ambitions and so forth. If it's around relationships, it may be that you've still got to work out within how you find the relationship that you would commit to without you being the benefactor, since you're going to be very successful, and what that all means. There might be a side of you that yearns for that sort of family and for that connection and all that, but there's another side of you that doesn't want to push this too far, because it's kind of like, would I just end up with people who just wanted my money or my success? So that could be going on as well too. So it's important not to sabotage yourself with that, but to be aware about what you need to bring to a relationship as opposed to maybe what you're doing in your career. So it sort of depends where you're at. But I think a lot of you might be on the leadership path, and you know there's a point at which the servant becomes the master, but you're keeping this hidden until that transformative time can really come into being. Okay, so let's have a look at some fortune energy. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Madame Endora as a couple of cards for the fortune energy that's operating when you're keeping this largely hidden. And then if you bring it up to your surface, at least for yourself, and possibly show it to others when it's appropriate, how the fortune energy might shift. So the fortune energy at the moment, where this is a little bit hidden to yourself and definitely to others, the raven darkness looms on the horizon. There's a sense of darkness, there's a sense of threat. You may have a sense of threat. You may give off an energy. People might pick it up and not really know. And air, seek a union of mind and spirit. You kind of, it's trying to force you to find those who are similar to you. So I think you probably do intimidate quite a bit, because as I say, I think you're a bit of a workaholic, but you're trying to sort of, because you're keeping some of that wild nature hidden, you're trying to find the person, but you're not sure whether it's dangerous to find people, the right people around you. What about if you have it less hidden, at least to yourself and maybe to people when you need to show that side? The fortune energy then, the satyr, revelry and indulgence. Like, okay, you could potentially maybe show some of it through wild sort of like enjoyment of things. You know, that might be a way to express some of it without necessarily showing too much. And it may also make you be aware that you can enjoy this power and this wildness on occasion. And the talisman, you're destined to succeed. Yeah, if you actually really start to use this more, you are going to be very successful. But this may be, you may be able to show the wildness in a different way, both to yourself and to others, until you do. Because I think for most of you, you're on the path, but you're not quite there yet. That's what it looks like. So let's also get you some telltale tokens as well around each of these things. So just a few around where it's hidden at the moment. And then a few around what would happen if you at least brought it up more for yourself, let alone maybe showing it to the right people. Okay. So at the moment, you might be sharing it or showing it to people close with over a cup of coffee, or as a kind of contemplative exercise. I think by and large, though, you're keeping very much to yourself. The cactus makes me think of someone resilient and so forth. A fan energy is maybe to get things stirred up a bit, but it's like you're more going within yourself. It's like more like it's very private. It's like you've got the headphones sort of shutting out the rest of the world. You've got the cup of coffee, you're being resilient, and you're finding your own momentum at the moment. But I think this could also be wanting to find the mind, the union of mind and spirit. But you have a tendency to kind of be your own momentum at the moment. There are some risks. I won't pull any punches. There are some risks in showing it. You have to be careful who to show it to. Some may think that you're showing off or something like that. Or you may find if you're very airy and you come across someone who's very Leonian, and there's something like that. With the Halloween pumpkin, it's sort of like, how is that going to be interpreted? I think think about how it's interpreted. You've got almost like a kind of a football field where it could be celebrated, or you've got a cloud where there's sort of potentially rain. So I think it is saying this is it's be careful how you do it. Maybe in revelry, in enjoying similar sort of things. This is why we've got the almost Colosseum-like building there. And in fun, where it's fun, like with Halloween. But do be aware that that you might sort of find some competition. So it's like how you do it. You are meant to succeed, but I think it may be saying more for you to understand and bring this up rather than showing it to most people. If you find the spirit, mind and spirit, that's fine, but otherwise be a little bit careful. I think that's what it's saying. Some people may misinterpret it or may try and take advantage of it in some way. Let's see the karmic energy around using this hidden power for you. Unconditional love. Wow. I think this connects. I think this is saying that you can find someone who loves what is the wild and the ambitious and so forth in you, and you can love whatever is within them when you find the meeting of mind and spirit. So it's certainly saying being alone is not what you're meant to be. Karmically, this is not meant to make you alone. But you do have to find someone of a similar intensity, I think. And divine guidance. You will get divine support. You're meant to be guided towards using this in the best possible way. So I think, go by what your intuition says, go within. But if you find that kind of love, then you've been guided towards it and you can trust it. Otherwise, keep it to yourself, but know in yourself you have this because you are meant to succeed with it. It is a powerful thing. Okay, let's just see what other sort of astrological and spiritual energy is important with this. Saturn. Okay. So this is the self-control. This is the discipline. And it makes sense. You had all the Jupiter energy. Saturn will help you. Saturn can be seen as too restrictive or too structured, but it is what you do. You need both. You need Jupiter to expand, but you need Saturn to make sure it doesn't expand too much. You need Saturn to have sort of like structure and to bring security in, which is something that you were looking for, particularly around the home life. But you also need Jupiter to be able to expand so it doesn't get stuck. So I think it's saying, your self-discipline is going to be important. June moon. So the June moon is, when you're meant to enjoy and nurture your creations and have fun. So I think there is something here about having fun with your wild side and your ambition, not sort of saying it has to be hidden away on that way. And like have a bit of revelry in this, enjoy your wild side, who you are. Don't think it all has to be hidden. Even if it's just on your own, you do that. And Mars again. Yeah, you're meant to be ambitious. You're meant to be active. Absolutely. It's like you can't not be, basically. So don't try and sort of inhibit it too much. Find the best way to show it and when to show it and how to show it so that people don't get overwhelmed or don't bring up competition that you don't need and all that kind of thing. And also so that you can find love if you're looking for love. But you find that through the enjoyment of it. Know that the drive's always going to be there. You can't help it. It's baked into you, part 2. Okay, so how we're going to finish up with a card from the Divine Circus for a kind of overarching energy that comes when you really bring this hidden power more into your own consciousness at the very least, if not more into your day-to-day world. Oh, that's interesting. That came up for another one. It's very interesting because in both cases it is very much, it fits because there is a huge power in this and there is a huge positive power in it, but it's also something that could be overwhelming to others. So I think this divine guidance and all that kind of thing, this is about knowing who to show it to and when. You need to see it within yourself, but then you can wear the mask and only show it to those that it's right to show it to and in the right circumstances. So you know your power and you know when to show it and when to disguise it. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome part 3 to your reading. So you came to Nyx, which is the Egyptian goddess of the night, and so darkness, so things that are a bit hidden anyway. So there's something about a hidden power in you that has to do with being hidden. So it's almost like a double barrel sort of energy that we're talking about here. I think looking at the astrology, if I'm looking at there's a hidden power that you have to remain hidden until you are in a situation where people understand your motivation for change. And the reason I say that is that in the middle here, we have Cancer rising. So when people see the sort of like the kind energy, the embodies kindness from you, that you are coming from a place that is wanting to help others, that is kind, that is protective, all of those sort of things, it allows this hidden iconoclast change agent to come out, which we see here with Uranus and Saturn both in the 11th house. So this is very social, could be on social media as well, but very much out in the world. One side is wanting great change and one side is wanting to give the structure that frees others, because we've got Saturn in Aquarius. So we've got Saturn as the sort of structures that hold us, Aquarius as being a change agent, a liberator, and we've got Uranus here as well too. So we've got hiding your personal identity. You do not show this change energy that you want until people feel comfortable that you're coming from a good place. Then you can marry this understanding of the system, what needs to change, to bring about change. So you're almost like a sleeper cell or a stealth agent in some way. You would be able to go into an organization, into a community group, into a family dynamic, into a friendship circle, whatever it might be. A lot of this is around social energies and professional networks and that kind of thing. And you would be able to assess where something needs to be restructured, changed, freed up in some way. But you wouldn't show that you were doing this, and you wouldn't show how much change you wanted to bring about till you had garnered trust. So, and there might be a part of you, one of the reasons why Nyx is here is that you may sometimes feel that you have to hide this even from yourself, because the frontal part of you just wants to be caring, kind and so forth, but you have an agenda. And you may even hide that agenda from yourself sometimes. But when you can marry those two things together, your sense of caring, community and protection to this, that's when you get to do it. You are a natural change agent. You are an agitator. But you also feel that may not always be accepted or understood. So part of the hidden power is staying hidden. But at some point, you probably do need to have this rise up so that you can actually use the power. Otherwise, you may settle in the Cancer rising and just, be a kind of feel-good person to be around, but never really access this power that you have that came from being able to be hidden long enough to understand the system that you want to change. So as I say, there's almost a double energy to this because it is darkness, because it is Nyx. You may sometimes think too that what you want to change is too revolutionary and too evolutionary and may even be dark in some way. So as I say, or you may sort of use sometimes methods and motivations that you think might be a bit dark, like people who are community activists sometimes follow edicts that are very manipulative, to be honest, but you may feel I'm doing it for a better cause or whatever. But this is an interesting, you are very able to hide who you are and the extent of change you want to do and project a sense of caring. And I think this sense of caring is there, but you might hide some of this from yourself as well too, because of the sort of more manipulative side of it that can come out. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying understanding it for yourself. So what we're going to look at first is a bit more about your power and where it is positive. Then we're going to look at how other people experience it, because even if it's hidden to you in some ways and hidden from them in some ways, they are going to be picking this up to some degree. Then we're going to look at why it's sort of hidden and what advice there is around that. So firstly, a bit more about this power and why it is actually a positive for you. 9 of Cups reversed. The Moon. Oh, yeah, you're very much able to hide when you need to. King of Wands reversed. The Fool. Queen of Coins. All right, okay. So, you're very psychic. So a lot of what you're picking up is psychic. But you are also able to stay hidden, and you need to, because you have a tendency to be drawn to places where there's illegitimate power or where loyalties are really not clear. And you have an agenda. You have a new world that you want to bring in. You can see when things are not happy, when things are not good. And you want things to be happy and good with the Cancer. You want people to be able to feel comfortable and you want to be kind and all of those things. But you go into unkind environments. You go into power-oriented environments. You go into very strange energies around loyalty and so forth to bring in something new. So it is a really positive thing. You come from a very positive place, but you But you understand, when in Rome do as the Romans do, you understand sometimes when you're around duplicitous and untrustworthy people, you have to kind of employ that yourself to be able to bring about the change that you want to bring about. So I think for you actually know you have this power. I don't think you really unacknowledged it, but you know it's a power that you have to keep hidden, just because if you don't keep it hidden, then it's no longer going to work. So it's a very ethically tricky situation, because you do come from a good place, but part of your skill is being able to not be seen for what you're doing, and bring about the change in some other way, or at least get to the point where you know it well enough that you can unmask what you're doing and lead into the new. So let's see how other people experience it with you, while you're either hiding it a bit from yourself or from them. King of Cups, Knight of Cups reversed, the World, Ten of Coins reversed. Wow, people are a bit confused by you. A lot of them pick up the Cancer rising. A lot of them see you as kind. And I think you are basically kind, so that's true. You come from a kind place. You're not the sort of person who would go in and insult people and try and drag them down. You don't do any of this from a place of like big ego or anything like that. There is an essentially kind energy, but some may feel that it's kind but a little bit dispassionate. It would be very confusing for people who fell in love with you if they fell in love with you in this scenario. If you are involved in something like this, it would confuse them so much, and that may happen with some. But otherwise, it's like they feel kindness, but it doesn't feel personal. It feels like it's on a conceptual framework, or it's on the cause in some way, or it's professional rather than personal. Some of you may, in fact, employ this ability as a therapist or something like that, and you get in and you understand things, and you can actually shift and change things to something better when people are dealing with pathologies. That's a possibility. So it's the healing, but it's dispassionate. People do see that there's something about you that brings things to an end, particularly where, like some of you might literally go into an organisation and be a change agent, but you don't actually show how much you hide of your own personality and your own agenda there. You seem to be just very much about the job, but there is more to it than that. You do have a cause. But they do see you as someone who somehow they associate it with completion of things and with old orders changing. So even if they don't know exactly how it's happening, they see you as part of that. So why are you keeping things hidden, or what is the utility of that for you? Ace of Swords reversed, Ace of Wands, Eight of Wands reversed. Okay. Underneath, you have a completely different way of looking at social and life scenarios than most people. But you're keeping that hidden because you're not sure if people would be able to deal with it or go along with it. You're much more likely to do things creatively, and you're much more likely to take things slow. There is something very new that you could bring in, and people are picking it up, and you really are about that, but you don't know whether its time has come. So it's much more about taking up a cause, taking up an ambition, dealing with that sort of energy. And it kind of, you're slowing down the true evolutionary and revolutionary within you. Now, whether you should be doing that's another matter. It depends on the situation. It might be right for the moment. It might not be right for later. But there is sort of something in there where you are really different. Like your way of looking at things are really different, and might be exactly what the world needs. So I'm not saying it's different in a bad way, but you're not sure about that. You're not sure if you'd even be understood. Some of you may feel like starseeds or, something like that. Like it doesn't feel like you even really belong here. So that could be going on. So you focus on the action and getting the timing right rather than what the real change is. So that's something to think about, because maybe you're meant to do the real change. That's something for each of you to contemplate. Let's have a look at some fortune around this. So we're going to use Madame Endora's fortune deck first, and we're going to get a couple of cards for if you really keep this hidden, what's the fortune around it, and then a couple of cards for if you, at the very least, acknowledge it more to yourself, though I think you do, actually. But maybe if you bring it a little bit more to the surface with other people. So the fortune around how it is at the moment, with it being kind of hidden. The Sun, your perseverance is rewarded. So it works for you. This works. You're able to do it. It's not like you have to show more to get things done. It's possible, though, that it takes longer and you're not fully accessing all that you could be, but you are rewarded for it. And be meticulous and patient. It works as a process too, and it helps you to do the patience. So at the moment, what you're doing works for you. And that might be fine, because I don't really think this is that hidden from you. I think you do know this. So what about if you're a little bit more open about it, or a little bit more open about your ideas? The Griffin, honour and good luck. See, that's not like bad things are not likely to happen. You know, there's a really good opportunity to do something that's very good. And the Hourglass, time is of the essence. But if you do it, there is a great reward, but there's a potential risk, because suddenly you're able to take your time with this. This speeds up. And so it's sort of like maybe you're just waiting for the right time when you feel like the time is right, because then there's enough. I've got enough in place that I can move quickly. The moment I have to be meticulous. It depends on what the situation is that you're dealing with. Let's use the telltale tokens for a little bit more information on each. So around keeping it hidden at the moment. And then around bringing more of it up to the surface. Okay. So we've got a chair, Aquarius, so this sort of very transpersonal sort of aspect, the bringing in the new. That's the new idea. We've got danger, and then we've got the North Node. So there is something you're meant to do. There's something you're meant to be heading towards. Definitely. I just paused to check this. I mean, it looks a bit like the North Node, but it's not. It's actually the Omega. So it's the end. There's an ending that needs to occur. If you don't move out of this, then there's a danger, I guess, to the bigger picture idea. The chair to me feels like there's a role that you're meant to sort of go into. It's like a throne or something. That's the ultimate goal. But there's, there is some danger to not bringing this out at some point, even though at the moment it's working. Over here, we have some sort of leaves. I'm actually going to look that one up because I don't recognise it. Holy Sprig, protection, divinity, Christmas season. It could be something about timing. We have lips, so a kiss, connection, all of that kind of thing. We have sort of titans holding the world on their shoulders. So there is sort of like taking on a big energy. Leo being seen more in the world, and Libra, the balance of it all. So I think it's saying that bringing this out, you have the drive and the balance to do this, and you can get on with people, but it is a big thing to take on. You will be protected if you do it, but it's a big thing to take on, and you probably need the connections to do it well and to know the timing. But you can't necessarily just stay with it hidden forever, because it's almost like the real cause is lost in that. The real place that you could take is lost. You don't get the finish. You risk just being halfway towards what you want to do. Okay, so then let's have a look at some karmic energy around this gift as well, this hidden power that you have. Karmic considerations in using it, recognising it, bringing it out from being hidden. Divine revelation, like it's going to come out at some point. I think it comes down to, are you going to be the one to reveal it in time, or will time reveal it itself? It's like there's something bigger you're meant to be involved in, I think. That's what this is saying. And Dharma, yeah, this is your life path. That's why we've got the sun. There's nothing wrong with this. I think there's a part of you that worries that, you're going to do it the wrong way or get some bad karma, but that's not the case. It's going to be revealed to you how you're meant to use this. I think eventually the Ace of Swords reversed will right itself, so to speak. That's where this is heading, because it's meant to head there. Let's see what other sort of astrological or spiritual energy guides you. Earth. So yeah, you're meant to sort of do something. You're here for a reason. There's a lot of divinity around this and Dharma, but you're here for a reason. You're meant to sort of ground something. Be practical. Mars, you're meant to be ambitious. You're meant to act. You're meant to move forward. And Taurus, you know, like it's very earthy actually. It's very of this earth. This has got something to do with power, ambition and so forth and the material outcomes of this earth. That's what this is about. That's what your cause is about. And eventually your capacity to shift and change that, because it's such a unique and different way of looking at things. When you do reveal that, that becomes very powerful on a material level. Okay. So to finish off, we're just going to get a card from the Divine Circus to see the sort of energy around this fully coming into being and the hidden being revealed at least to yourself and used, if not revealed more to others as well. Wow, rah, 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 coming into the sun, coming into the spotlight. There will be a time for you, Pile 3. This is what this is saying. You are coming in with something very original, very new, very socially different or politically different or something like that. It will have a material impact and it's going to happen. You can't hide this forever. At the moment, you know probably that you need to be a bit stealthy, take it step by step, understand your environment and do it incrementally. But there will be a point where you need to go forward with something new and it will be successful. This is not, it feels like you feel like this is very morally ambivalent, but it really isn't. It's like understanding how you use that ability to time when you show yourself and what your purpose is. And to know that when you do it, it's exquisitely timed to be exactly the point where you can shine and make the difference that you need to make. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.